Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we're coming to the end of this chapter where Krishna is describing the weird thing he said to Uddhava. He said a weird thing, and Uddhava was like, what? What are you saying? He said, to go beyond good and evil. And Uddhava was very confused. It's a very strange instruction from God. What do you mean, like, forget good and evil? I thought the whole point of the scriptures was to know what's good and what's evil and avoid evil and do good. So he's been explaining that by explaining the importance of us to rise above the concepts of good and evil which we find in our material life. So he's going to explain this point and finish it off in these verses. So right now we are in the 11th canto, 20th chapter, verse 35. And of course, if you want to watch all the other classes, Uddhava-gita is a beautiful and amazing text, Krishna's last instructions on earth. If you want to watch all the classes, make sure you become a member of this channel and check out the instructions here in the description of the video, and go to Uddhava-gita.com where you can watch the whole course. So Krishna says, "It is said that complete detachment is the highest stage of freedom. Therefore, one who has no personal desire and does not pursue personal rewards can achieve loving devotional service unto me." So this is very important. Here we go. First thing, complete detachment equals highest stage of freedom. Makes sense, because what's keeping you bound is your mental concept. So the mental concept, like, I need that. So as soon as I say, I need a certain object, then I have just tied myself to that object. So if that object is with me, I'm okay. But if it's taken away, I'm in distress. If it's destroyed or damaged, I'm in distress. So I don't have freedom. I am bound by that object. So if you're attached to a person, then you know what that person does is everything for you. Your whole well-being, your happiness has now been deposited in the hands of that person. And the person can break your heart. We say that, he broke my heart, she broke. You know, because your happiness, your joy, your heart can be broken by somebody else. So you're not free. You're stuck, you're imprisoned by this other person. And same thing with situations. So you might be attached to your position. Some people, you know, this happens a lot with power positions, especially politicians. They get attached. So they'll do anything to keep that power. They're attached to that, being a congressman, congressperson, president. You're attached. And so like, oh, I have to keep that job no matter what. And somebody threatens, oh no, the political opponent is threatening me. And oh, this opinion, oh, and this thing happened and people won't let me stay in this job, or they won't like me. So people get attached. You get attached to positions. You get attached to the opinions of people. That's what we do. It's, you see, you suffer horribly. You're attached to people's opinion of you. So you're not free, because like, oh, what is that person, what will they think of me? And what do they think of me now? And so the influencers are like going crazy. How many likes did I get? How many comments? Because it's like I'm attached to being appreciated. So we get attached to these things, make our life hell. It's completely hellish. So we do a combination of them. So an unregulated mind, a non-yogic mind, will have all these attachments, all these things. Not just one object, but 1,000 objects. Not just one person, but many people. Not just one power position, but many positions. Position as a neighbor, as a person, in this, in the club, and in the other thing. And then the opinions of people, and we're attached to all these things. And then the person, then we become completely bound, opposite of freedom. We're a slave. That's why people are so unhappy. They're a slave. Being free is essential for your well-being. The soul is naturally free. The state of consciousness is naturally free. So everything that limits consciousness causes you distress. So in your society, people are having a hard time with society as it is because it's a very imposing society. We don't have much freedom at all. If you study history, people had much more freedom for tens of thousands of years. Human beings have lived with much more freedom than we live now. We say, yes, of course, we have nicer everything, we live longer, more food and better medicine. Fine, but freedom, we are losing big. There's no freedom, right? Big government is all camera, literally like cameras all over. Government controlling everything you buy, you spend, every money you make. Oh, taxes, I want to take that money from you. No freedom. Everybody's like, oh, everybody's society was looking, and now we're online, and it's like everybody's like seeing what you're saying and what you're doing, and it's like there's zero freedom. So we suffer with it. It's horrible. It's a horrible way to live, like no freedom. And of course we can't travel. Yeah, you got a visa, a passport, and this. No, you can't come in here, you can't go there, and it's just, there's no freedom. And before people would have freedom to travel, freedom to do what they wanted, they could just, ignore orders, not take commands. Now we have to we're slaves to we have a boss and the government and the police and judges and everybody's telling us what to do. It's a very horrible situation. So there's no freedom. And again, but not only is society no freedom, but we have no freedom because we have all these attachments. So these attachments are giving us just suffering. So Krishna says, what you have to do is complete detachment then. Will give you the highest state of freedom. Then he goes on. Therefore, one who has no personal desire, because if you really want to be free, then you have to become a yogi. And a yogi, he doesn't want things for himself or herself. A yogi understands that I am now complete. I am Sat Chit Ananda. I am eternal, Sat. Chit, I am conscious, and I'm Ananda, made of bliss. That's my natural state. Nothing's lacking. I don't need anything. Oh, but you need to eat. Oh, actually, I don't need to eat. My body requires food, but I'm not my body. So no, you don't actually even need to. So you're completely free. So the spiritual position is of absolute freedom. Satchitananda, you already have everything you want. It's Satchitananda. So the only thing you want is not yours, so you have no personal desire. You don't need to think about yourself. You can just love. So what we do is, the yogi in Bhakti Yoga, what we do is we focus on God. So never mind my personal desire. I can just worry about God's personal desires and serve those desires instead, because I am part of God. Krishna says, Mame vamso jiva loke. We are his parts, amsas. So you serve God. How do you serve God? Dharma. Just do your dharma for Krishna, not for you. Not for your personal desire, but because that will please God. How do we please God? How do I know? Students come up to me and say, Arjuna was so lucky, he had Krishna right in front of him in a chariot telling him what to do. I wish Krishna would do that with me. Well, he has. It's just your dharma. He taught Arjuna to do his dharma. Just do your own dharma. You don't need Krishna standing in front of you telling you what to do at every second. You can just understand dharma. It's not so hard to understand, especially if you use the 3T path system of the 7 dharmas, which I explain. Easy to understand. Not so easy to do because we tend to be selfish, we tend to be lazy, we tend to want personal rewards and personal desires. So then we get skewed off dharma, we get skewed off, then we get that attachments, and then you get stuck in karma. So if you bring your mind to dharma, then you're doing that for Krishna's pleasure, which is exactly the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita. Do your dharma for Krishna. Do it as a loving offering unto me, Krishna says to Arjuna. So serve Krishna by doing your dharma. Do it for him. And everything will work out in your life because your dharma is what you have to do. So everything will come naturally. The food will come, the shelter will come, the money will come, people will come, relationships, marriage, children, everything comes naturally. Just according to your karma, things will come naturally if you do your dharma. The very best of your karma will come to you if you perform your dharma nicely. What that karma is, we don't know what you did in the past. Only Krishna knows. So we don't know what your record is like. You know, we have a criminal record. Everybody's walking around with a criminal record. It's all the silly things everything we've done in the past is our record. Only Krishna can access, Yamaraj can access us, can access our records. So what that record says, we don't know. Maybe you have a good record and good things happen in your life and more good things can happen in your life. Maybe you've got you've got a bad rap sheet and, payment is due. So when something bad happens, it's just like, oh yes, it's just some bad karma fructifying. No. You don't know. Your life is great, rosy. One phone call, boom. Some horrible thing comes up in your life. This happens, you just don't know. You don't know what you did in the past. You don't know what your karma is like. This life is already kind of, but if you do your dharma, you'll get the very best of your karma. Because if you don't do your dharma now, what happens is you'll get an even worse version. You can make your life worse. So you have the best version, that's doing your dharma. But then if you don't do your dharma, you get a worse version. Life becomes worse. So people who are irresponsible, so they're not doing their dharma, they don't take care of their body, what happens? They get sick. They might lose years of their life. Right? You see this, if you fill cigarettes, every cigarette, you're losing so many, a day of your life, or you see these statistics. If you eat an egg, for every egg you eat, you lose half an hour of your life or something. These things add up. So if you don't do your dharma, you get a worse version of your karma. But if you do your dharma nicely, do it for Krishna, everything will come naturally. Again, you don't know what it is. It could be great, medium, bad, you never know. But you'll be the best version you can get. So you do that with no personal desire. You can just do that for the desire to serve Krishna, for the loving desire to serve Krishna. And then he says, does not pursue personal rewards. Same thing, because what's a personal reward? If I'm pursuing a personal reward, I am no longer a yogi. Because the very definition of yoga is that you're living in the here and now for Krishna. A karmi, a materialist, he is pursuing karma, action. He is pursuing the fruit of the action. So he wants the reward, the future reward of his action now. That's a karmi. That's the big dividing point. Like, are you a karmi? Are you a materialist? Or are you a spiritualist? Are you a karmi or are you a yogi? And that's the question. Are you acting now seeking to receive some future benefit? If yes, you're a karmi. And you're stuck in the law of karma, you're accumulating more karma, you're prolonging your suffering, staying in the material world, prolonging this whole nonsense. Bound, prisoner of matter, prisoner of a material body like we are now. Now, if you want to be a yogi, you'll do everything, but you'll do it for Krishna. No personal desire, no personal reward. Just do your dharma nicely for Krishna. Your pleasure is to please Krishna. So when you become a devotee, a bhakta, your pleasure is pleasing Krishna. And then you feel pleasure. That's love. That's how it works. And then you feel more pleasure because you become more and more spiritual. You come to your original position as Sat Chit Ananda. The more you live Krishna's instructions, the more you experience Sat Chit Ananda. So very important instructions here indeed. So that person can achieve loving bhakti unto me. That person can achieve bhakti. Krishna says, you have to have that. Because if you have to want that, you have to do it, and then by doing it, you experience it, you're getting it already. Hope that was clear to you. Purport. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10, this is a great verse. Akama sarva kamava moksha kama udharati tivrena bhakti yogena yajata purusham param. Amazing verse. I love this verse. I did a whole video on this verse in this channel. So it goes like this. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desire, without any material desire, or desiring moksha, liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Então, so this is an amazing verse. It just says, whatever you do, whatever you are, what situation you're completely full of all material desires, or you have no material desires, very renounced person, or you want moksha, liberation. So whatever your situation, that covers everyone. That covers like from the most enlightened sage to the silliest, the greatest fool, full of attachment. Covers the whole thing. So whatever situation, go for bhakti. Go for bhakti, because bhakti will help you in all these situations. Because Krishna says, look, if you have things, if you want things, you can ask me for them. It won't be bad. You might not get it, but it certainly will be better for you to ask Krishna for things than to not ask Krishna for things and still want them. It's better not to want them. You'll feel better. You won't experience anxiety and frustration and anger and envy and all these horrible things that come from desiring. So it's better for you not to desire. But if you are stuck with the desire, if you can't rise above this, then you might as well ask Krishna to help you out with it. So this is an amazing verse. In this statement by Shukadev Goswami, the words Tivrena Bhakti Yogena are very significant. Srila Prabhupada remarks in this regard. As the unmixed sun ray is very forceful and is therefore called Tivra, similarly, unmixed Bhakti Yoga of hearing, chanting, etc. may be performed by one and all, regardless of inner motive. Undoubtedly, in this age of Kali, people are generally very fallen and polluted by material lust, greed, anger, lamentation, and so forth. In this age, most people are sarvakama, full of material desires. Still, we must understand that simply by taking shelter of Lord Krishna, we will achieve everything in life. The living entity should not engage in any process except the loving service of the Lord. One must accept that Lord Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure, and that only Lord Krishna within our heart can fulfill our real desire. This simple faith that one will achieve everything by approaching Lord Krishna is the essence of all knowledge and carries even a fallen person over the painful hurdles of this difficult age. Okay, verse 36. Material piety and sin, which arise from good and evil in this world, cannot exist within my unalloyed devotees, who, being free from material hankering, maintain steady spiritual consciousness in all circumstances. Indeed, such devotees have achieved me, the Supreme Lord, who am beyond anything that can be conceived by material intelligence. So now he's coming to this conclusion. Look, material piety and sin, so good or bad, in terms of the material considerations, that cannot exist with my devotees because they're not in the game anymore. It's a different game. You've transcended. You're no longer playing the game of matter. We're not in the game of karma anymore. When you're stuck here, wanting desire, then you're in the game of karma. But when you've risen above this by fixing your mind on Krishna, in devotion and love, you're not playing this game anymore. So there's no consideration of piety and sin, because you're already automatically doing your dharma, so you're very pious. You're automatically, but you're doing it for Krishna, so it's gone beyond just material piety. Because you're not doing it to do the right thing. You're not doing your dharma because you want to be a good person. You're doing your dharma just to please Krishna. It's a subtle difference, but it's an important difference. And this whole chapter is Krishna just trying to emphasize this important difference. He's going to go beyond the whole thing. Of course, you're not going to practice sin. No devotee will practice sin. You're beyond, of course, evil. But you're also beyond the concept of material piety and materially being good, because you're not working on that anymore. You're not being good materially just so you're not evil. No, you're being good because you're just serving Krishna. And then he says, you're free from material hankering. That's what we explained in the last verse. No personal desire, not racing after personal rewards, because you maintain steady spiritual consciousness in all circumstances. Because what's your steady spiritual consciousness? I just want to please Krishna. I am a servant of Krishna. I'm doing my dharma for his pleasure. Because I wouldn't want to not do my dharma, because then I can't offer what I'm doing to Krishna. It's like I want to be connected to Krishna. I want to be in yoga connection. Yoga means connection. And I want to be in bhakti yoga, and connection of bhakti, of devotion, of love. So naturally I'm just doing my dharma because one thing, it just feels better, it's just easier. And two, second thing, it just makes, maximizes my karma. But never mind those things, I'm not doing it for those reasons. I'm doing it because I can offer it to Krishna. I can please Krishna with them. So, and then he says, indeed, such devotees have already achieved me. That's the thing in bhakti, when you get it, you're there already. It's not like something, I hope that when I die, you're already in that state. Yoga is very interesting. It's different from the Abrahamic religions, because it's not about, if I do it right, when I die, I'll get it. I'll be approved. I can go to heaven. With yoga, it's your consciousness. So it's like, what is the state of your consciousness now? And if your consciousness is already immersed in Krishna, then you have already achieved Krishna. So you've achieved me, the Supreme Lord. And I am beyond anything that can even be materially conceived by your intelligence. I'm beyond everything. Very interesting. Purport. The words Buddhe Param indicate that the material modes of nature cannot be found within a pure devotee, absorbed in the transcendental qualities of the Lord. In the second chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna clearly explains that a pure devotee is recognized by complete detachment from personal desire. Therefore, a pure devotee constantly engaged in selfless service to Lord Krishna may not always observe the innumerable details of Vedic rituals and regulations. Such occasional negligence is not to be considered a transgression. Similarly, observance of material piety does not constitute the ultimate qualification of a soul surrender to God. Love of Krishna and absolute surrender to the Lord's will raise one immediately to the transcendental platform, where activities performed on the Lord's behalf are absolute, being an expression of God's will. Ordinary, materialistic persons sometimes falsely claim this exalted status for their whimsical, immoral activities and cause a great disturbance in society. However, just as an ordinary person should not falsely claim the executive privileges of the personal assistance of a national leader, similarly an ordinary conditioned soul may not foolishly claim that his immoral, whimsical, or speculative activities are sheltered by divine right, being the will of God. One must actually be a pure devotee of the Lord, empowered by the Lord himself, and completely surrendered to the will of the Lord before one may be accepted as transcendental to ordinary piety and sin. Okay, I'm going to skip the rest of this purport and go then to this last verse of the chapter so we can finish off this concept within this class. So the verse goes like this. Persons who seriously follow these methods of achieving me, Krishna says, which I have personally taught, attain freedom from illusion, Maya. And upon reaching my personal abode, Matsthanam, my personal position, they perfectly understand the absolute truth, the Brahma Paramam. So they understand everything. So look at Krishna says, look, if you follow what I've been teaching, just look at this chapter. I mean, he's been teaching so much. These instructions have been going on for a while. Over 130 classes we've had. But he's saying, look, if you just seriously follow this method I'm giving you here, then you will achieve me. And you'll be free from Maya, from illusion. And upon reaching my abode, you will understand everything. So Krishna's inviting us to go back to home, back to Godhead, come back to Him. This is what it's all about. Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavad Puran, everything we're doing here on this channel, it's all about, please get out of here. You don't want to stay here. This is not a nice place. Horrible place. All the time being attacked, the three miseries, other creatures, in people, nature, our own bodies attacking us. It's not a nice place. Birth, old age, death, disease, inescapable. Not nice. You have to get out of here. And our consciousness is so limited and all these things. This is like a horrible place. You can't express yourself. You're not free. So Krishna is saying, just please seriously follow this method of achieving me, as I have personally taught, and attain freedom from illusion. So that's it. I hope you enjoy that. Have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.